Hi everyone, my name's Anne Marie. Welcome to this card making project. In this episode we're going to be making a gorgeous Anna Griffin card using lots of goodies, including the paper doll card toppers. Yay! I can hear you all scream and shout. And we're going to use the fancy Flourish dies as well, set 2. Everything I do use I shall put in a detailed list on my blog, so please be sure to check it out. If I can include links I will do. And there'll be lots of photos on there as well, different angles of the card, including the inside as well. So please have a look. There's lots and lots of projects on there now. So there's something for everybody. Feel free to share. Feel free to give them the thumbs up. If you want to comment, feel free on my blog or on Facebook. I can always get back to you there. I just can't get back to you on YouTube because there's a glitch on my account. Okay, let's craft. So the first thing that we're going to need is our base card. This is a 6x6 inch card, and if we look at it on my cardometer, now I've made this, I've made my cardometers, and we have one for landscape portrait cards and one for square cards as well. I should say rectangle cards and square. So this is our square card. If I turn it around that way, you can see the biggest size I have on this is the 8x8. Now I know you can get 9x9 cards now, so I'm going to have to expand this. So 8x8 is normally our largest size, 7x7 and then 6x6. Now to get a true 6x6 size I've actually made this base card myself, and what I did was I took a piece of the Anna Griffin ivory cardstock that was 12x12, I measured it and I cut it in half, and then I folded it and used my bone folder to make sure I've got a nice sharp crease along the edge, and that way I've got a true card that's 6x6 in size. Now I know Anna's got some square cards available that she's just had on in the US, which would be great. They would work with this style, so please be sure to check those out. For my UK friends, obviously we've got our own 6x6 cards for in different cardstock, etc. So until we get those 6x6 ones, we've got to make our own or use other standard card bases. Don't forget to stamp on the back, or just write your name on if you haven't got a handmade by stamp. I've been asked where my stamp comes from, and this was from the Floral Tags and Embellishment stamp set from Anna from a long time ago. And I just like that, and this year this is my thing. I'm adding this on all the back of my cards and the date, because obviously I need to know the date of the project. So like today is the Friday the 15th of March, so I write that date on there. So without further ado, let's make our card. Now the inside of the card is I would say quite spectacular actually. We're going to use the paper dolls on the front, and the paper doll that we're going to use, I'll show you this now, is this particular one, the arty one that's painting. Now I've taken the colour of her apron on her dress and I've used it for the inside of our card. Now you can see I've already gone ahead and stamped it, and I've used one of the stamps from the Floral Tags and Sentiment stamps. That's the set that the handmade stamps in actually, and it's just a simple, it looks like a lilac. I'm probably going to be very wrong, but I thought it matched her apron on her dress quite well, so I've kind of gone for that matching look. So I've stamped it in clear ink, and then I've heat embossed it with clear embossing powder, and then I've inked around it. I've just inked in the centre a darker colour, so then I've inked around it, and I must say I've used distress inks for this, Scattered Straw and Wild Honey, and then I've overstamped with permanent black ink at the bottom. I've tapped the ink pad, the black ink pad, just around the edge at the bottom to give it a darker shadow effect. So I hope that all makes sense. It's just simple stamping, and heat embossing and then over stamping, and it just gives a great effect. Now I've already got flat tape on the back of it, and you can see in the centre where I've inked, I've left kind of like a space that I haven't inked. And for there, all I've done is I've taken some of the foil layered cardstock from Anna Griffin, and that was set 1, and I've die cut it using a die from the Sentiment and Stamp die collection, and I'm simply going to add the die cut to the centre just below. And then I've also stamped using the now then, it was the same stamps as let me think. They were the Floral Tags and Sentiment stamps for you, my dear friend, and I've stamped it on a smaller die cut, and I've just trimmed it slightly. I've used permanent black ink for that, and I'm simply going to add that over the top of our cardstock larger die that we've added. And then we've got lots of room at the top for our to and our from. That's going to match perfectly to the outside, and it's just something a little bit different for our inside. And if you're not happy with inking, if you're not, you know, up to speed with inking and blending, don't worry about it. Just stamp at the bottom, add what colour you can, give it a go. I mean, mine isn't perfect, so, but it looks good. So I'm happy with that, even though it's not the best inking and stamping in the world. So let's create the outside, because that will just go so well with our inside. I've just used my bone folder again, just to make sure I've still got that nice sharp crease. Now I've got to be honest, I know you're all thinking, oh, what's she done there? She's taken a big chunk out of something. Yes, I have, because I needed that for something else. Now, my faux pas is, as I was preparing this, I cut the black background, and I was quite happily sat there listening to music, and then I stuck the layer on the black background. So I kind of got ahead of myself there. But what we're going to do is, we're using one of the foil layers from Anna Griffin, from set 1, and it's a lemon layer, but we're also going to use a second layer. I'm showing you this now just so that you're not thinking I'm off my rocker. So this was actually, the second layer was actually scrap. So what I thought was I would use that to cover up the little bit that I needed. So I've gone ahead and got flat tape on the back of the black cardstock. So all I've done really is just mat it onto black cardstock, just ahead of the episode. So where I've taken this section that I need for something else, this is going to be covered up. So you might need any of this bit, but it just so happened I've die cut that, and I've taken a second piece which was scrap, and it just so happens it sits over the previous layer perfectly, and the pattern marries up. And what we can do is marry it over like so, so that you would never know there was a piece missing, and then we've got that little bit of difference in the colour. How pretty does that look already? I just love those foil layers. And obviously Anna's got set 2 out now, and they just look so pretty. So this is set 1. So we've got our base of our card. Next I've taken the Fancy Flourish die set 2. I've die cut it in black cardstock, and then I've die cut it in the Anna Griffin Satin Gold cardstock. I've stuck both of them together so that the black die is underneath the gold die cut, and it just gives a little shadow effect. Now on the back, I've got 3D foam at the top and then flat tape at the bottom. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add this just to the corner, like so, of our card. And then I'm going to do exactly the same for the other corner. I've got flat tape at one end and 3D foam at the other. And I'm going to add that one just in that corner as well, so they meet in the middle. Now, the paper doll card toppers from Anna, these are so pretty and so very different, and for me they remind me of my granny, for when I was little, and the stories she used to tell me about when she was little and she used to play, and they used to have the paper dolls that they used to dress, and it just brought back so many happy memories. Now the card toppers are all in layers, and what you do is you punch them out, and then on the back there's the instructions for the main image, and it says this is the base die cut, use foam adhesive to layer the die cut pieces on top in numeric order. So that was A1. So our second piece is A2. So all you simply do is add 3D foam on the back of that, and then you marry up the pieces on top of each other like so to build up the image. Now I'm only using 2 layers, and some have 2, 3, 4 layers, so it's just dependent on the style that you use. And there's the paper dolls with in their underwear and their petticoats, so that then you can dress them and add layer after layer. So look out for those because they are different. So I'm going to add my lady just slightly to one side of our flourishes, like so, I would say. There we go. And press her down with those 3D foam pads. Now I've taken one of the sentiments that's actually in the paper doll collection as well, and this says happy birthday to someone smart, beautiful, talented, and reminds me a lot of myself. Wow, isn't that sentiment funny? It's just, you know, what a great sentiment. I've got it on 3D foam, and I'm going to add it just slightly to the corner of the card and press it down, and then I'm going to finish the card off underneath the sentiment with a large gold bow. And I'm just going to press that down. Oh, before I do, I'm always asked about how I stick the bows on. It's 3D foam. Now I've got extra foam on this one, just on one of the tails, because the tail wouldn't sit down, as it were. It was stuck up. I've not taken the back of the foam off, but it's just to weigh the tail down, so that when I add the bow underneath the sentiment, like so, then it's pulling the tail down because it was stuck over. So I'm hoping that is going to help keep the bow in shape. And I can press that down, and that is our card finished. There. Pretty card. Those Flourish die cuts are just so pretty. And the paper dolls, wow, something just that little bit different. The inside of our card matches perfectly, and it's going to definitely stand on a mantelpiece. We've got a few layers on there because we've got the layers from the doll and we've got the layers from the flourishes. but there's only actually 2 layers on there, so that wouldn't need so much of the padding or the extra weight to it. It's just such a great card. And those paper dolls, oh, they're so funny. The sentiments in them, they're great, they really are. I do hope you've enjoyed watching. Please be sure to share any of my projects. Check my blog out. There's always extra photos on there. There's something for everybody. And I'd just like to say thank you so much for watching. I shall see you next time.